Hello everyone, and first off I just want to say a very happy new year to everybody, of course. I can't believe it's been another year and we're now hitting January of 2022, but here we are. I'm bringing you Mannequin of the Month today for January 2022. The topic covered this month, as usual, picked via a poll over on Patreon. The chosen topic for this month was a soldier of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders serving in Northern Ireland in 1972. Now, the kit we have on the mannequin here has been somewhat covered in previous videos looking at specific items of kit used in Northern Ireland, and other videos more generally looking at soldiers deployed to Northern Ireland and the kit they were using at the time. So we are covering some ground that's been covered previously here, however, hopefully it will be of interest nonetheless. So we'll start at the top as we normally do, and the bit of kit, the bit of uniform that really marks this out is the Glengarry cap you can see here with the red and white dice band, and we have the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders cap badge there worn on the Glengarry as well. Not wearing a helmet, wearing a regimental headdress, a little bit of esprit de corps in that as well, but also gives a slightly less aggressive appearance, much as you're wearing combat uniform and so forth. That was the idea behind it, or certainly one of the ideas behind it at the time. The uniform itself consists of the wool shirt worn underneath the combat jacket here. You can see that, the combat smock rather. It's a khaki flannel wool shirt. This is still one of the wool examples. Around this time period, wool mix shirts were being introduced to the British Army, but obviously you're not going to be issued a new shirt unless your old one is worn out, and that's what we have here. We have one of the earlier examples still made in wool, and this more of a caramel khaki colour as opposed to the later green examples. We can also see here the combat smock, as already said. This is a 1960 pattern combat smock, but manufactured in DPM rather than the plain green, as had been the case with 1960 pattern. And these were introduced in the early 1970s prior to the introduction of the 1968 pattern, which would become the standard DPM combat uniform for the British Army. The 1960 pattern manufactured in DPM cloth was something of a stopgap in that regard, very common to see in Northern Ireland in the early 1970s. Over this we have body armour, which was very common basically for any urban operations, certainly in Northern Ireland at the time, and it was also worn in some rural operations as well. This is the M1952A. This is an American design of body armour introduced in the latter years of the Korean War, and it wasn't the only pattern in use by the British Army at this time. There was also the three-quarter collar body armour, which had a small standing collar, again of US design, and British versions of the covers for these were manufactured, as I say, both for the M1952A and for the three-quarter collar body armour as well. So you'd see a mix of those in use at the time. We just happen to have the M1952A here. The web equipment worn is very stripped down. This is a set of 1958 pattern stripped down to the bare essentials for a basic urban patrol work. You have a ammunition pouch round on the hip here, and this would carry potentially a spare magazine for the rifle. It would depend on the specific operation as to what was carried, and in some instances web equipment wasn't carried at all. You could carry what was necessary in the pockets of the body armour. In this instance we do have a belt kit here. Round on the other side, as we'll see in a minute, we have a water bottle pouch, and you can see on the front of the belt here a fairly common addition at this time period was a shell dressing, or sometimes a first field dressing, taped onto the belt for ease of access. So that's been attached there round on the right front of the belt. It's just been taped on and is therefore very easily accessible and easily removable should there be any need to use that. Moving this round to look at the right hand side of the mannequin, we can see various details of the combat smock here. We can see the stitched collar, which is indicative of the 1960 pattern combat smock, and you do have a small elbow reinforcement patch there, this being the later pattern of 1960 pattern smock. That's the example, the pattern that was manufactured in DPM cloth, and you can see the simple design of button cuff there down below. Epaulette coming down on the body armour here, just a detail to note there. If we lift the arm of the combat smock out of the way, you can see here the water bottle pouch. This is the second issue water bottle pouch, round on the hip, which of course contains the 1958 pattern water bottle and cup there. Very, very simple belt kit, ammunition, water and a dressing taped on there as well. So really stripped down in that regard. Looking at the back of the mannequin here, we can see the tapes coming down off the back of the Glengarry there, just a detail of the regimental headdress there. And you can see here the belt is worn quite low on the hips, and the reason for that is it actually has to pass underneath the back of the body armour there. It's really has to be worn low in order to be worn with the body armour set, unless it's going to be worn over it. This is the common way of wearing a belt kit. If you were wearing body armour at the time, would be to put it on the body armour over the top and that means that it has to sit low on the hips in order to accommodate the wearing of the body armour. You can see a big flat panel at the back here. Of course, the joins are in the side of the body armour. We'll have a look at that when we look at the other side of the mannequin. And looking at the left-hand side of the mannequin here, if I lift the arm out of the way, you can see here how this adjusts down the side with lacing. You've got that weak point there, which would be, when the improved Northern Ireland body armour was introduced, this weak point would be eliminated from the design. So that's the left-hand side of the mannequin here, just showing that detail on the body armour. So there we are. I hope you found it interesting looking at this. As I say, covering some ground which has been covered on the channel previously, but nevertheless, I hope it's been of interesting looking at this. If you have found this interesting and you'd like to see more from the channel, please do consider subscribing if you haven't already. And when you're newly subscribing or you've previously subscribed, please do make sure you hit the little bell, the notification button down below, and that will of course alert you when I upload future videos. If you really like my uploads and you would like to support the channel, you can. Both Patreon and PayPal are linked down below. And of course, if you'd like to vote on the topic that's going to be covered each month, the Corporal tier over on Patreon gives you access to the poll where you can vote on the topic. There's usually a choice of 3, and that's how we pick what's going to be looked at each month. If you'd like to follow the channel on social media, you can. Facebook, Instagram and Twitter are all linked down below, and of course there will be photographs of this posted up over there as well. And if you'd like to get in touch but you don't really use social media, there is an email address down below in the description of the video as well. That's everything for this video, so until next time, bye for now.